You're listening to The Kick on Longbox.FM. The Kick is for an adult audience. The Kick may contain certain material that may be unsuitable for sensitive ears. Listener discretion is advised.
Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. Ni le bien qu'on m'a fait, ni le mal, ça m'est bien égal. Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. Car ma vie, car mes joies, aujourd'hui.
News, politics, and discussion. This is The Kick. Well, listening back for the first time, I think I went a little epic on that.
A little bit epic.
A little too much, maybe?
Yeah, we can epic down that a little bit.
Epic down? Okay, I'll work on the epic downness on that. Sorry. How's everyone doing tonight? It's the Kick here on Longbox.FM, brought to you by Riley's Brewing.
Thank you, Riley's.
And so, yes, first run of the show. It's a show meant for, if you heard there in the intro, the news, politics, and discussion. We're trying to take something a little bit more serious and not so much Dirty Dowdy podcast. Trying to get you some education and get you involved more in what's happening. And it's a perfect day to start, as Election Day is tomorrow.
Amen.
So, let's real quick give you the rundown. You can call in at any point, 492-0450, or you can Skype, search Longbox.FM on that, and it's even on the website, Longbox.FM. There's a little button that you can click, and it'll take you to the Skype. Cotty will be waiting for you, and we'll get you on the show. Tonight's show, we have a special guest coming in here, and we'll get to him in a second, but to go around and discuss who our new crew is on this, obviously, if you've listened to the station at all, you'll know me. I'm Dowdy, and then, of course, my number one here, Kevin. How are you doing?
Here I am, doing good.
And you're going to be playing our role of a really annoying libertarian guy who's going to tell us that we're all wrong, right?
No, that's why Steve was here.
I like this already.
The other person there, that voice, that's Ben from, he's been part of the Carnival and the Open Mic podcast. And what role are you playing?
I am playing the role of, let's see, I could either go with Data, because I know that Kevin's more of like the Jonathan Frakes type guy, so I don't know, makes him to your Picard. So I'll go with Data, or I could just go with Van Wilder, whichever.
You wish you were Ryan Reynolds.
I really, especially with the Deadpool body, I certainly do.
You've outlasted the opportunity to get there, man.
I know.
And finally, we got Vanna Vandal on the mic. How are you, Vanna?
I'm excellent.
And you're a little firecracker. You were on also with the Open Mic podcast, the Short People podcast.
Yeah. And
you told me a little bit about your history, a Hillary fan at one point.
I was 17.
Don't blame her.
Forgive me, Lord, I was not yet of voting age.
That's what I did on my 17th birthday. I ditched school and I put on a pantsuit and I went to Fresno High on my 17th birthday, and I saw Hillary Clinton speak.
I was there.
Yeah.
I was
in the protest area.
I was going to say.
They wouldn't let me in.
There was a big one.
I had a Ron Paul t-shirt on.
Ron Paul got my vote, actually, in the end of that.
Awesome.
So, proud
that is
Ron
beautiful
Publican.
to hear.
Yeah.
Well, that voice right there, he's our special guest tonight to help us with the moderation, the discussion about all such topics. It is Steve Wayte. Steve Wayte, and you are the proud owner of Roll One for Me.
Yes, sir.
Why don't you give us a little bit of the plug on that and a little bit about you?
Oh, geez, where to start? I actually went to Fresno High School. I graduated in 1983. I was student body president. And the only reason I was elected student body president is because my gifted government teacher informed the student populace that the constitution for the school was not written by the students, it was written by the administration. And so we rushed the offices, and we took 4 out of 5 offices. And my very first meeting, we opened up a constitutional convention. And 10 minutes later, I ended up in the principal's office. And I was told...
Just like real life.
Mr. Wayte, you are here to do 2 things, to plan proms and raise money. And I said, I'm sorry, I thought I was elected to do student government, but apparently not. So yeah, I found out at a very young age in politics, to really get anything done, you have to become one of them. And in my case, I refuse to compromise my integrity for my political gain. So I stay out of the arena, and I stay outside, and I'm a political agitator.
Wow. I heard that story. I was actually associated student body president of my school as well.
Awesome.
And Charles Curry and we were both elected to be the student representatives on the Board of Education, actually. There's only 2 spots, and we got to represent over 71,000 students. It was amazing. And he, being the Fresno High kid that he is, he told me that story, and it's so crazy because here you are. That is so. It's an honor to meet you.
Anyway, thank you.
So that's cool.
That is fun.
I'm geeking out right now. I'm Vanna girling.
I didn't know. I also hold the pleasure of having the lowest GPA of any student body president in Fresno High history.
And still making some decisions for that school.
Yes.
Nice.
You guys are a bunch of statists.
Well,
Whatever Karl Marx.
one thing is fun about this now. Part of the fun and why I really wanted you to be our first guest on here tonight is we are learning as we go. No safety net here. The Dirty Dowdy podcast, this whole station, my whole career in broadcasting, or if you want to call it a career, is based off of an event that you threw in 2009, the Tea Party convention at Save Mart Center, April 15th, 2009.
Yeah, 15th that year, the 10th in 2010.
Yeah, that was me and my buddies. We went down there. We had a laptop and a microphone, and we went out and decided to start doing some interviews with people, more to make fun of them at that point. And we started everything based off of that. So now in the last year, getting to know who you are, and just weird as we're talking, and that popped up, and
Sure.
So it just made sense. Like, let's have you at the birth of this show, and
No problem.
go from there. The last one I think was pretty successful, so high hopes for this.
Yeah, the Tea Party, we started off with pure intentions, at least myself. I was a Republican at the time, but I've always been a libertarian-leaning Republican, and I'd gotten really involved with the Ron Paul movement back in 2007. And so after he did not win the nomination in 2008, I did do the convention for Ron Paul back in Minneapolis in 2008, which ran concurrently to the GOP convention in St. Paul at the time. And the Ron Paul people took over that town. It was fantastic. We had a blast. Really, really a lot of fun to get involved in something like that. We walked with Ron Paul all the way from the University of Minnesota over to the Federal Reserve Bank. Got my picture taken with Ron out in front, and that was probably the 3rd or 4th time I'd met him. And it's just it's nice to have the camaraderie amongst the people that really believe in liberty and understand and identify some of the issues that are weighing on our country and why we're losing our liberty. Things like sound money, debt, and war. We can't continue at this pace and keep a republic.
Well, before we get to the seriousness of our our next topic here, again, roll one for me. Give some love on that first before we get too deep.
All right. Yeah. Well,
we may not be talking about sushi soon.
Roll one for me was a joke. I was in the construction supply business prior to this for 18 years. When the economy collapsed, I was left holding the bag, and I didn't have to file bankruptcy, thank goodness, but I did shut down my business and sold the commercial property I owned, and I came up with the name Roll One for me as a joke because I was going to do medical marijuana and sushi if I couldn't sell that commercial building. So I had been offered a talk show on Kino, just a once-a-week gig on a Saturday. After the 2010 Tea Party, and I turned it down because I was trying to keep my business open, and as the business continued to circle the drain, I called them back up and said, hey, is that offer still good? I'm going to have some free time, I think. And so I did a program on Kino Saturdays at noon for about a year called Tea Party Boot Camp Radio. Really enjoyed it, brought on my Liberty people, Sheriff Mack and Tom McClintock and Doug LaMalfa from up in Northern California, and a lot of Jim Patterson, Steve Brandow, Clint Olivier, a lot of good, honest people that are trying to definitely make a difference here locally in California. And it was a blast. My brother-in-law was a sushi guy, and he called me and said, hey, you got a little money? And I go, yeah. And he goes, you need a job? And I said, yeah. And he goes, let's go get a restaurant going. And I said, I've already got the name. and I changed the E in me to an I, and the symbol we use is the me symbol, which means beauty or beautiful. And we have a beautiful restaurant, and we have some really talented sushi chefs, and I'm really enjoying the 3 years of being a host for the citizens of Fresno and the Valley. It's been great. We have some great sushi.
Just to be clear, there's no medical marijuana there.
Nope. The only thing green on the menu is wasabi and maybe a little seaweed salad. We do have
Now,
seaweed.
have you
No
ever
weed,
had
just
any
seaweed.
green-friendly customers just roll in there, just misconstruing the name whatsoever? And
all the time.
Yeah.
No, and I'm not an ink guy. We get a lot of cool ink coming through, and I think that's a lot to do with the name too.
Right.
But
you had me wanting to come.
Yeah, we got a lot of cool ink that comes through, and I was doing a thing for a while. It was called Tattoo Tuesdays.
Oh, nice.
So you come in and, you didn't have to have a tattoo, but you come in if you mentioned it and you saw us on Facebook and mentioned it, hey, you order 2 rolls, we'll give you a free appetizer.
Nice.
So, we might get back to doing that kind of stuff because I do, I appreciate it. Both my brothers are tattoo love boys, so I do appreciate it.
Nice.
Well, the big motivating one behind this whole show, Kevin.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about your segment here coming up next, capitalism versus socialism. And I have no idea what's happening. This is all on you. That's my disclaimer, right? But for now, if you guys want to participate tonight, you have questions or you just want to argue or whatever, or say hi and tell Steve how much you love his sushi, you can call in at 492-0450, or you can Skype in Longbox.FM. We will take a quick break here, and we'll be right back talking about Kevin's topic. This is The Kick on Longbox.FM. It's just a quickie.
All right.
As a Japanese stoner, I appreciate your restaurants.
Right?
No, I'm gonna go there because of that.
Oh, you've never
We
been?
just got a new customer.
Oh, no, we kick ass.
Yeah,
No,
you are
I'm
the specific target.
No, I'm
market.
not
I
saying
should
that
be your
because I'm not a
target
sushi guy.
market.
I'm a business guy.
I'm a total sushi girl.
I've got some talent. These guys are good.
I'm all about
4 of my 5 guys are former head chefs, so we go. Cheers, there you go. Try it.
Go.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh my god.
there you go.
Should we wait?
The green jacket's my favorite. That's going to be the one with dogs.
.fm.
Don't forget your Longbox.
Take us with you everywhere. Search Longbox.fm within the TuneIn directory on your iPhone or Android. Hit up the App Store or Marketplace and grab your free copy of the TuneIn app. Then search Longbox.fm from within TuneIn to keep us cranked wherever you may roam. Meeting you at the crossroads of your mobile lifestyle. Longbox.fm.
I feel like... What was that?
I said if only for the music on the show, this had to be the greatest idea ever.
Well, I'll have to work on that. Clearly I was motivated with something. Something got my attention.
Absolutely.
The reason, the kick. We're hoping to wake you up from your induced sleep here. That is the world that we live in now. So,
yes.
And we're starting this off now with, of course, Kevin here with
Some big ones.
Something near and dear to your heart. This isn't about rescuing dogs or anything. This is
Not this time.
Yeah, it's capitalism versus socialism.
Yeah. No, the whole show is basically, it was kind of like my request to Dowdy to get some information out that, the Dirty Dowdy podcast isn't fully equipped for. And I've made a little compilation of some information here, and I'll need about 6 or 7 minutes of your attention.
Oh, crap.
And when I'm done, you guys can tell me how right or wrong I am. I'm
6
not.
or 7?
That's about it. That's all.
Feel free to cut in anytime.
Attention span is about 32 seconds.
Well, then we're going to have a problem. This is all going to have to assume that, people can stay bored. Okay. So Confucius said, the beginning of wisdom is to call things by their proper name. To that end, let's define some terms. Capitalism, in case nobody knows, an economic system. This is all from Merriam-Webster. I know this is going to sound droll. Stick with me. Capitalism is an economic system characterized by private or corporate ownership of capital goods. Investments that are determined by private decision, by prices, production, and the distribution of goods that are determined mainly by competition in a free market. Free market, of course, is an economic market or system in which prices are based on competition among private businesses and not controlled by a government. In short, it is voluntary. Socialism, however, is a social system or theory in which the government owns and controls the means of production and the distribution of goods. And we're going to get into why that's a problem. And then, of course, private property. The last one is land or belongings owned by a person or a group and kept for their exclusive use. We own ourselves, and we are responsible for the effects of our actions. And this is true whether we create harm or produce goods. We own that which we labor over. To contradict this is paradoxical. To say with your own body that you have control over, to speak the words, to argue against the principle that you own your own body, is moot. The core of the free market is voluntary trade. Voluntary trade is any transaction that is free of coercion or threat of force. When two or more people freely exchange with each other, it stands to reason that all people choosing to exchange are doing so at their own benefit, since they are free to choose whether or not to exchange. Regardless of whether or not there is an objective benefit is irrelevant. A man's primary concern is the allocation of those resources available to him in order that he may enjoy the highest possible attainment of his ends. Generally, he will act, to his best estimate at least, towards those ends. These ends, for obvious reasons, may not always be quantified. His reasons may be abstract, but it stands that to take action there must be some purpose. This very basic but often misunderstood concept is the basis for the infinitely complicated market economy. Through the limitless combination of ever-shifting wants and needs decided upon and delineated by every living individual for themselves, we are able to determine which processes of production deserve our attention and which should be abandoned. This is the social function of profits in a free market economy. Profits indicate that someone has created value by taking inputs or materials relatively less valued by society and producing outputs, the goods, relatively higher valued. It is only with profits and prices that we can answer the questions, am I putting resources to their most efficient use? Am I creating things that people actually really want and enjoy, or am I squandering resources not putting them towards the desires of consumers? The core of the centrally planned economy is a government authority. The centrally planned economy is an economy where decisions on what to produce, how to produce it, and for whom is controlled by the government. Under these circumstances, and by definition, the effects of a person's labor is not his property to exclusively choose where to allocate those effects. Without the freedom to choose where to allocate resources, the very basic economic principles of supply and demand become vastly distorted as consumer demands are prohibited from being fulfilled freely. The resulting distortion is always followed by shortages and overproduction and misdirection of supply. When a central governing authority redistributes the wealth created through production, they remove resources from those who are best equipped to reallocate those resources efficiently and give them to the recipients of redistributed wealth through the form of social programs. This on top of the operating costs of the central governing authority to facilitate the continuous redistribution of wealth. And finally, government intervention. Government is the monopolization of the use of force. It must be in order to enforce any of its decrees. Therefore, any government intervention into the marketplace is the application of force into a voluntary exchange. Interventions such as taxes, licensing, policy, subsidies, and regulation distort the true value and cost of labor and services in the market. And proof of that is like the cost of college, healthcare, fuel, food, water, transportation, housing, energy. The list pretty much is infinite. Price is a function of freely chosen voluntary agreement. When a system is coerced through the force of government, there is no way to determine the actual cost because there is no free market to determine prices. Government social programs are funded through taxation and not through offering competing services on the market. Because of this, price calculation and the true value of what it offers cannot be gauged. Also, because the funds are guaranteed, not only can it not know the value of its services, but deriving the necessary knowledge for effectively directing resources to improve the quality of its product becomes an impossibility. Without the direct need of the consumer's choice, socially funded programs have zero incentive to produce anything of quality, as quality and efficiency are products of meeting more consumer demands through competition. The bottom line: capitalism is a system that incentivizes individuals to produce through the adherence to private property rights and free exchange. Socialism requires force to control the means of production and redistribute the ends of that production. It is the direct removal of private property rights and complete disregard to basic economics that makes socialism and all forms of government-funded social programs immoral, and immoral in theory and utterly catastrophic in practice.
Was that you or Friedman?
Did I just sit through a Hitler speech circa 1940?
Soapbox there.
Did you write
Jesus.
that yourself?
About 90% of it.
Okay.
I mean, it's Friedman, and it's many.
But knowing
Very
Kevin,
good.
he's got a bibliography at the end for the shit that
I
he
got a great joke
memorized.
about theory.
Sorry, I got to get out of my trigger zone right now.
That was sexy.
Well,
feel good.
This is the
All
best
right.
sushi I've ever had, by the way. It's got cucumber in it, and
Not
I'm a
once,
huge
not
cucumber
once,
fan.
but twice.
So let's make
This
some
is
friends.
my fourth one.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So where did you want to go with that, Kevin?
Where do you want to go with that?
I mean, bottom line, the reason socialism doesn't work is because it's absolutely impossible for a centrally governing authority to take in all the factors of the market to decide where needs to be or what needs to be where, when you completely remove the people that actually choose what's valuable in the market.
But can we agree that with free market, even though we have a lot of freedoms in free market economies, that can we agree that money is probably the biggest motivator in a capitalist? Obviously, by nature, by name, money controls a capitalistic society or a capitalistic mindset. And so it's very easy to turn around and say, well, yeah, you're going to make a lot of money, or, well, no, you're going to have to share this with a bunch of other people.
Money in its basic form is just a tool to compare.
Certainly, but
Forgot
we're the
what the-
gardeners
It's not money,
wielding
it's
those.
greed.
We're the gardeners
It's not
wielding
money.
those tools,
But
aren't we?
It's not money, it's greed.
Oh,
And it's
right,
self-protection.
Right,
mean,
absolutely. It's the motivation of the money in a free market society.
But you self-preserve when you preserve your capital and you're able to go forward. It's self-preservation.
But you're exactly right, because the basis of capitalism is
Self-interest, yeah.
Ditto.
Ditto.
And
Absolutely.
that's why socialism doesn't work, because everybody becomes uninterested in their self-interest because everybody else is going to take care of me.
And it's not just the basis of
The
capitalism.
fact is, you can't have capitalism in a free society without a responsible society.
Absolutely, you have to be fiscally
you
conservative
have to be
that
responsible
end.
for yourself, and
Right.
Yes.
you have to be able to say, "Hey, this is my life, and I'm going to be accountable for it." And the problem is we're raising a society of people that say, "Oh, my life is effed up," and I can say the F word right here.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
My life is fucked up.
Fuck yeah.
Okay, my life is
Nailed it.
fucked up, and it's Chris's fault because he did this.
I've been
Or
hearing that a
my
lot.
dad did this, or my whatever.
it's Chris's
teacher
fault
did
because
this.
we're doing
and
this.
so we've raised this society of millennials that are like, oh my god, the world owes me everything because of freaking, someone saw me naked in fucking gym class. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
No, there's 2,000 photos on the
Grow
internet.
up, get a pair. I'm sorry, you can't, but get a pair and get on with your life. And good luck to you, sir or ma'am.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. And
So-
you're a liberal. You're agreeing with me. This is great, Chris. This was an awesome idea.
Well, okay. Do we have anyone that actually agrees or
I'm a liberal,
disagrees
too.
here? Like, the socialism is a good idea? Because I know that
Really?
we have no one in the room that's going to say that.
That's a compelling goddamn argument right there. It's hard to stand up against that. Do you have any questions? Did you learn anything?
Not to give you 7 minutes of mic time.
At least if don't read it, you could say it.
Was that-
Don't
No,
read
you
it.
do so much better when you actually speak it instead of going with the.
Of course, but I mean
But-
that's quite a bit of information there.
You handle yourself well. But
Yeah.
now, okay, where we are right now, can you compare? Are we more capitalistic in our life right now, or are we more
No.
socialist now?
No, we are far on the socialism side, especially considered the size of government and the basically. I mean, the Federal Reserve is like the number one indicator that you do not have a free market. Anytime that your currency is not sound, or at least even allowed to be competed with, there is no free market. There's a shadow of a free market as you get beyond, the people using the fiat currency, still making free choices with it, but the money itself, when it's being controlled, there is no true choice.
Yeah, amen.
Man, where's the Bernie supporter we need?
Yeah, I know. Tell you what, if you're voting for Bernie, why don't you call us, 492-0450. We were talking with Steve Wayte here of Roll One for me, and of course Kevin here, who hates you. So go ahead and call in, because someone's got to defend him. We see him walking. Now, actually, Bernie supporters, I see
Call us.
I see him a
My
lot.
daughter's voting for Bernie.
I'm sorry.
When I see
Breaks my heart.
these marches of people, I look at them, I'm like, there's no one over 23 there.
Yeah.
And if there's 75 people, and they do pull out people, I would love to know the final tally and how many actually vote.
Well, here's the thing, too, along with that. They say that the average age of the millennial right now is 26 years old, right?
Mhm.
So with that being the case, now you've got a bunch of millennials who are now transitioning into adulthood at the age of 26 because
Hopefully.
coincidentally, the average childbirthing age is 26 also. So now you've got a society of people who are looking down the barrel of entitlement, but then also faced with the prospect of pulling their own, their own trigger on their lives.
Now they have a dependent.
Yeah, because now they're not only dependent on the fantasy land that Bernie's creating, they're actually supposed to be responsible for their own children and their own lives. They're going to go out and birth kids and get married and pay mortgages and all this other shit. So
hopefully.
Well, hopefully.
We hope.
Look,
I heard
if the world doesn't spiral down the toilet in the next 10 years, I think we'll be okay.
10 is optimistic.
10's optimistic.
Yeah, I heard a news story this week that it was like 18 to 34. It's the largest amount of 18 to 34s living with mom and dad since the Civil War.
It really is.
And when I said that to my wife, who's British,
how does that work?
She goes, sounds like we're going to have another Civil War. That was the first thing she said. And I go, that is scary because there aren't jobs. There's no production. And that's the problem with socialism, is that you have to have somebody producing something at some point.
Not only that, but you have to have somebody who wants to produce something at some point.
Yes,
the risk has to have a reward.
Yes.
But our own consumerism drives production, because we, in the self-interested mind, we go, well, shit, I want this, so I may as well make something, right? I may as well make something, produce a profit, and then turn that profit into consumerism.
Well, you can change consumerism to the word needs. There's an endless number of needs.
I was going for a bigger word that sounded more intelligent, Kev. So let's just
my
get
wife
over
does
that.
More syllables.
Well, actually,
those are
speaking of that age group, the 18 to 34 market, I don't know if you guys are familiar with like Etsy or these DIY shops, but actually female entrepreneurs, that's been the biggest boom since ever.
And that is a rise too.
Yeah,
there really
Actually, I can. There's
and
quite
then,
a bit of that in Tower already.
And then it gets them, politically involved. I saw Bernie in Visalia last weekend, and
How was he? Is he taller than he looks on TV? Because I've really wanted to know.
He is, actually.
I always see pictures that are coming from a downward angle, so he looks like he's the BFG just towering over everybody.
No, you're watching Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he actually is, but then again, I'm 4'9", so.
Right. And by the way, Larry David is one of my idols, so we'll
worry
just
about
get
a
that
wall,
out of
she
the
can
way
crawl
right
under it.
Yeah.
You're
actually,
Japanese, that's all right. Never mind you.
I am. I'm a quarter.
You're swimming.
But no, okay. So you and I, prior to the show tonight, we talked, and I said I had an example. Now here's the thing.
Oh yeah,
I think that there can be a balance.
Well, no, you said you had an example of
socialism and the way that socialism works.
Okay.
Now there are plenty of problems with national health care, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Steve, you said that your wife's British.
Mm-hmm.
My admittance on the show tonight, because a lot of people publicly don't know this, unless you're a close friend of mine. I was born and raised in England. Right?
How do you not
the
have
red
an
coats
accent?
are coming. The red coats are coming. Huh?
How do you not have an accent?
I've been here since 1991, and at the age of 9, when I got a bunch of kids tapping my shoulder in math class going, say water. Say bench. And I finally turned around and I was like, either I switch it up and blend in like a damn chameleon, or
Really?
I get in trouble for the next 5 years in a row punching people in the face.
yeah. Could have been a football hooligan.
Right. Yeah. Hey, listen, there's no saying that I wasn't a Green Street hooligan, but goddamn. So here's the thing. So my family, I was born and raised in England, and at the age of 9, we moved out here because of California at the time in the early 90s, in the early infancy of the Clinton presidency, there were way more economic opportunities. So my mom, she saw this in the late 80s as we were transitioning, and she was like, you know what, California's got some really great opportunities. We can make some more money. So we moved here in 91. Now, my dad, in the mid-90s, he was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, which I watched my dad go through some of the most painful experiences of his life, right? Mm-hmm. Now, even with employment on the rise, even with healthcare being more substantial as compared to what it was the 5 to 6, 7 years prior that we moved here, you still saw healthcare costs rising, and they've been rising ever since. I think they've been rising steadily since the late 80s, early 90s, and they haven't stopped.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's I think that, you talk about like the early 2000s, right? September 11th, and that kind of put a hold on everything. Foreign policy became the dictator for every conversation that we ever had for like
It affected my Kaiser Permanente, but yeah.
Right.
It did.
But that's the thing, too.
Plus, they contracted with Medi-Cal, but that's another story.
Entirely.
And about socialism, okay, because...
So my dad...
Anyway, go ahead. Finish.
So
your
my
story.
dad, he moves, he makes a decision, and I joined the Marine Corps, went to boot camp in 2000, and it was 2002, and my dad, me and him, we had a conversation, and he said, look, I'm making the decision to move back to England because they've got socialized medicine, and it's going to benefit me greatly. Now, did that make me miss my dad every single day? Absolutely. Because I didn't get to see him when I came home. Finally, I got out of the Marine Corps in 2005, and my dad, he just wasn't there. You know, like he was gone, but I knew the reasons he was gone. And the thing is he went from paying thousands of dollars a month in medical care to paying nearly nothing. I mean, socialized medicine, the National Health Service in the United Kingdom between England, Scotland, Wales, and Ireland, I mean, that service itself, it employs something on an annual basis. It employs 1.6 million people and services about 60 times that. But in the process, everybody gets free health care except for maybe fixed prices on medications.
Well, it's
and
not free health care, though.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not.
They're taxed. They're absolutely taxed on it.
My
right?
mother-in-law was a county head nurse,
Right.
so I
yeah,
know
she
the
knows.
NHS.
And my mom, she graduated nursing school in England, and she did what
Now,
she did there.
I'll tell you this before I forget, because you said they employ how many?
Almost 1.6 million.
1.6 million is going to be your trickle-down number.
Okay, so
that's
we'll
not
just-
your direct number, I believe. I'm going to
Yeah,
I'm
no,
going
it's-
to
it's
cut him
all
some
very-
slack.
We'll just
right
say
there.
one-
So that's the guy that sells
Very
the
right.
Band-Aids and the
Right.
gauze.
We'll just say 1.5.
Absolutely. You got the corner store drug pharmacist who's just kind of tied into
Okay,
the whole
we'll just say 1.5 just because we need a number and it doesn't really matter what it is.
Certain.
If it's 1.5 million people that are employed through state funding, the state itself does not have any funds to begin with. They must take them from somebody else. The only place you can take them from is where the wealth is being really generated, which is the free market, the people that are actually producing.
Certainly.
So not only do you have the cost of all the medical equipment and the staff to facilitate all the medical procedures, you have the third-party cost of the state coming in and facilitating all this. Now, those have a lot of managers and a lot of administrators, a lot of bureaucrats that have to do a lot of pushing and pulling and stuff there. So you have a third-party cost on top of the cost of the actual medical equipment. And this goes back again to the price cannot be calculated because there's no free market to determine what the actual price would be of all the different medical equipment and procedures and so forth. So they also pay a significant more in tax. Their take home, I know in Switzerland, their take home is like 30%. You know, they pay like 62% or something in taxes. We pay like 32 or something roughly. It's
And
like
why do we
half.
have health
about
insurance,
right.
period? When I was born, I mean, I'm not that old. I was born in 1965.
Jeez.
My parents didn't have health insurance. My mom went to the hospital and she had me and she stayed for 2 nights.
Right.
And it was $500. And you went home and you lived the rest of your life happily ever after.
Yeah.
My wife went in, squirted it out, sent her home in 24 hours, and it was 10 grand.
Yep.
Get on your way. And this is the problem. When I opened my business, I had a very special situation. I had a special needs child, and I left a family business, and I had a special needs child, and healthcare was very, very important, leaving a family business. So I cobraed out with my dad for a year, and it was $400 a month. And then I got a group policy. I got a group of 3 together for my little business. And my family's portion of that was $285 a month in 1995. And when I closed my business in 2011,
Oh, man.
we had dropped down a couple levels on the Kaiser hierarchy just to keep it affordable. And it was over $1,500 a month in 2011.
Yeah.
And you wonder why Americans are struggling, especially you put Obamacare on top of that,
Forcing
which
it
has
on you
increased
now.
it for
Yeah.
everybody.
Yep.
And so now if you can't pay, we fine you because you can't pay.
Yeah, but
And
let's-
what kind of
okay.
sense does that freaking
And then
make?
my mom actually, her company, she passed away from cancer, and they gave her 4 months to live, August 2012. And her job, they, kept her on, payroll or whatever so that she could have their health insurance, and they could only do that for so long.
Mm-hmm.
So during the transitional period, onto her getting Obamacare, they had a mess up with the paperwork, and
No way.
so my mother was
That never happens. That never happens.
my mother was scheduled to have a procedure every month, a thoracentesis, having a fluid drained from her lungs every month, and because of her lapse in healthcare for that moment, she, during this time frame, wasn't getting the care she needed, and it was for 2 months. And it's just, the red tape that you have to go through alone, it's
absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
And
Ron Paul never
it-
took Medicare. Never took Medicare.
no, he never did.
Do you guys honestly believe that? Okay, let me rephrase this. Would you agree that Obamacare, universal health care, affordable care, all that was set up to give us all health care, or was it just a backdoor
an
legal
expansion.
tracking into
Control the
making sure they can
economy.
look into
It
our
was
taxes?
it was a
Obviously
money
control.
monster. It was a money monster scheme to begin with, and it still is now. And it gets increasingly expensive for everybody that doesn't have it every single year because those fines go up. They
Same
never
shit
go
happened
down.
with car insurance here in California.
Yeah.
And your fiat currency that we talk about over here, okay, needs inflation to work.
Yeah.
Okay, you can't have fiat currency without inflation.
Yeah.
So the way you cause inflation is have zero interest rates, negative interest rates, and you put a big old fine on top of everybody and make life really expensive.
Yeah.
And you raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, even if you're not worth a shit.
Yeah.
Because I'm in the restaurant industry, and I'm telling you, I
Uh-oh,
was
be careful
already
here.
at the point where I'm not hiring under 23s at 15 an hour. You might have to be 30 to get a job at my place because I'm not paying somebody.
Yeah.
a
You better
risk,
know Latin.
to see if you're even worth it.
Real
anything.
Japanese.
And that's the problem. These kids. I had 2 jobs when I was 15. I rode the bus. I had 2 jobs.
Yep.
But that was $1.95, I think. If I $1.90 anyway, somewhere right in there.
I worked at $4.25 at
Yeah.
one point in my life.
Anyway,
Yeah,
$2.95, maybe $2.95. But anyway, I'm not that old. $2.95, I think. But anyway, it was a lot of work, and it was a lot of bus tokens. I got the bus tokens from Fresno Unified. I did take a public subsidy. That's going to end up in a political commercial
Yes,
someday,
it is.
and I'm going to be
Yes,
Quinn
it
Olivier. No,
is.
I would never run. I'm just kidding.
And then I'm 25, and I'm pretty cool, like with my dad, and my dad's been paying my health insurance. That was kind of the deal when my parents got divorced, and so it just kind of upsets me because, like, even if your parents want to cover your health insurance when you're 26, they're like, no, you have to do it yourself, and it's like, why? I love my dad's health insurance.
Because
Awesome.
they predetermine an age.
My dad owes me. It's not fair.
How is it?
But they predetermine
You
an
can pay
age,
for
and
it.
not
Why not?
coincidentally with the age of the average millennial or the average like childbirthing age. They predetermined an age and said, you know what? At this point, you become too expensive to insure, and we're going to lose way too much money by keeping you around on somebody else's policy just to have them pay for you.
I don't know if it's
Yeah.
that. I mean, I've got a 22-year-old. She's hopefully going to be in college for 4 more years. That's 26. So
Yeah, but
Yeah,
if
I was
and
going back to school, so I'm like, hey, Dad,
right,
one less
and
bill.
if you're a college student that can't pay for insurance, then yes, that works. But if you're just Jenny Joe and she's out there doing whatever and she's not really motivated about life and doesn't have a job, then at that age they say, well, yeah, you got to turn around and make something happen for yourself. It's essentially at some point somebody had to step in and say, well, you know
college
what?
insurance is cheap.
College insurance is cheap.
If you're enrolled in college, it's really cheap.
Well, I was going to beauty school, so it's a whole different thing. I had like this whole like quarter life crisis where I was like, I want to
that's
do
private
aesthetics
school.
I have
and
never
do
heard
like.
that term
That doesn't
before,
count
but I'm going to
private
start
school.
using that.
Yeah, I'm
Quarter life
25.
crisis.
I am.
No.
This is a quarter life
I had
crisis.
my
right here, you guys.
you had your silver
Look at
life
it.
crisis.
And then plus,
Silver.
no one's been in a car accident and seen if it works, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
Those ages, people don't get sick.
Strap in and turn off the
Yeah.
airbags, guys. We're going in.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, like you take an average 20-year-old. How many of them actually need health care?
I didn't have
I
insurance.
skateboard. I need healthcare.
Yeah, from 18
That's correct.
to 34, I did not have insurance, and I only had one doctor's trip thing I had to take care of, and that was expensive as fuck, and had to deal with that. Then I got insurance, and then I got sick last year. The Valley Fever thing
called
hit.
karma.
Yeah,
No,
I know.
I'm just kidding, Chris.
My fake cancer got me. What pisses me off about it is the deductibles that you pay
Thank God
monthly,
you had insurance.
and then you have deductibles, which
yeah.
to me sounds like the deductible is $2,500. Then I pay the first $2,500, and after that, it's all covered. But they have formulas and ways that they figure out that is so mind-numbingly asinine. And I don't think I ever really got. I mean, I guess I didn't pay the $9,000 trip. I only paid $3,000 of it, and like there were still ways I'm going above $2,500. I owe like something like $12,000 over the last 2 years. When my deductible $2,500, that should have been at most $5,000, right?
No, you haven't called anyway.
Yeah, it's.
I went through that with my oldest daughter, so
I'm just going to bankrupt.
and then Valley Children's wrote off $50,000 for me. She was $1 million baby, and my wife was paying them before she was paying our bills. And I go, hey, see that big hospital and all those Porsches out in the parking lot? They got money. We're just trying to get by, and you're not working anymore because we got a disabled child now. And hey, you hold off on the doctors, pay the bills. And I called Valley Children's, and they ended up writing it off. So they will do it if you ask. But,
I actually have a form here that proves that I'm poor, so it's I got to fill that out.
And there's medical tragedies should never bankrupt a family. That is tragic that happens in America, because I went through it. I went through it. We lost my daughter last year, and I'm sure that was $1 million deal too. I didn't get to see the bill on that one, but I saw the bill on the first one. It was $900K back in 1994.
1990 anything, that's a lot of money.
And so it's very, very sad. And we were lucky we had coverage, and God bless you for having coverage as well for what you went through, because I know that's not a cheap disease as well.
Just found out some unfun things. Since I recently stopped having insurance, the medication I'm supposed to be on the next couple years, it's $682 a month.
Ouch!
So now, having no income coming in, I went to go pick it up the other day, and instead of getting it for much cheaper, I walked in, they gave me that bill, and I said, well, I guess I'm going to have to learn to survive without my medication.
Looks like I'm dying.
Yay!
Thank you, Obamacare.
That's why they made medical marijuana. Yeah.
give me some weed later.
Simpson oil.
Roll me
Much
some weed.
Much cheaper.
Or roll me some health care.
Now you're really going to have to open a dispensary.
No, it was a joke.
Actually,
And now it can become a reality.
funny side note, too, on the medication. For the fluconazole medication, it's antifungal type thing for something in my lung, $682 for a month. To get hydrocodone, Norco, a whole 2-week, 4 pills a day, $9.37 without insurance.
Right.
I can get pain meds like nothing, but to life-saving medication, not a problem. They're like, fuck you, go away. But I can pain med all the way out to the end, so I'm good there.
That sounds like fun.
Gotta
It's
find one
because
way
the
to go.
government's more interested in keeping you docile than
Just go
actually
to
fixing
Mexico,
the
dude.
problem.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to repeat that.
Truth right
Oh.
there.
Yeah,
I had a thing.
Yeah, okay.
shocking.
Go to Mexico, dude. Yeah, hey, the free market's great. Let's get back to that.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the free
Ben,
market.
did you get to
Yeah.
finish your example? I'm kind of.
So, and just to kind of finish off on that example, my dad, he experiences, now granted, they're not, the NHS and National Health System over there is not without its issues, obviously, because there are a lot of people that are flooding that system right now with the immigrant crisis and everything that's going on. A lot of people don't have their cards through the European Union area, whatever the hell they have. So the thing is it's not without its problems, but my dad, when he gets his appointments, he experiences a better quality of life because they're actually invested in your issues. And yes, they are getting taxed. Yes, they are paying buku amounts of money for it. But my dad, from a medical standpoint, is experiencing a better quality of life because what he's not worried about is, well, I've got all this money and I'm going to buy this incredibly big house. His house is tiny. They've got one car to share between him and his, my stepmom, But he says that he experiences a better quality of life because even though everything else in his life is minimalistic, his health care is taken care of, save for a few pills or medications that he may have to pay for. Now, in that world, right, in that area of the world, when you are going out of style, you're making a ton of money, you're going out of style because you're buying this great house and you're putting a pool in the backyard, and then all of a sudden you're buying 2 cars, 3 cars because you have the money. But then all of a sudden you fall in a medical emergency that will damn nearly bankrupt you.
Yep.
So, not that they're given a choice when they're over there, because that's just the way of the world when you're there. But for my dad, it works for him because he's experiencing a better quality of life, and he's not worried about at the end of the day, I got to break my fucking bank account just so I can pay for my medications, or just so I can pay for my specialist trips, my co-pays, my co-insurance, cost shares, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
My dad's not worried about that whatsoever. And you know what? My dad may not have the biggest house on the block, because in England, growing up there, I remember, and just seeing pictures since, every house there is fucking tiny. It's like living in Hobbiton.
Mm-hmm.
But
They're tiny.
But the truth of the matter is, I'd rather live in a smaller house. Tell you the truth, I'd rather live in a smaller house or have slightly less money in my bank account if I knew that me, my spouse, my kids, everybody else was taken care of. Next time my kid gets sick, I take him to the doctors. No questions asked. I'm not paying for it. Emergency trips to wherever, standard, regular.
You pay for it.
Scheduled doctor trips. You pay for it, but you're not worried about paying for it. Yeah, you don't exactly. You don't feel it. That was the term I was looking for.
It's velvet glove statism.
Yeah, so it's
we love you.
It's subjective to the emotion. I would say a few things. Number one, the reason people are going bankrupt over a small medical emergency and such is because the government is so heavily involved and subsidized in the medical market that the prices are insane to begin with. Number two, it is nice.
And the government distorts the prices.
Absolutely.
They just, the market distorts it.
That's what they do. I mean, it is the initiation, of course, into the.
We could probably insure every American in the United States for what we spend on the VA every year. Well, if you break it down with private health insurance, I don't even know what the numbers are. I bet you it's close.
Well, the Department of the Defense alone gets every penny they ask for on a year-in, year-out basis just for whatever they want to spend it on, whether it's for the betterment or the detriment of the people. They get every penny they ask for, yet services like the Department of the Interior, who regulate the national parks across the country, we don't give a fuck about watching some ice sheet off of a mountain. We don't care about snow falling off of trees. We don't care about nature and beauty and everything else that comes with that. We care about funding missiles. We care about, and this is coming from a guy who did 5 hard years in the Marine Corps. We don't give a fuck about beauty. We don't give a fuck about what came before us. We don't care about things that we cannot replace.
No.
We care about is destructing. We care about destroying the world that we live in, and then telling the people that aided in that destruction that they're no longer worth anything either.
You're painting with kind of a broad brush, because I would say
absolutely. But we could get very specific.
It's not we that want to destroy the planet. It's those that are pulling the triggers and pushing the buttons.
It's like a paint roller.
The ones that are giving out the orders. Absolutely. They're the ones that are doing that. I
use a paint sprayer, so can we go with that? Is that okay?
Well, we can't cut down our timber because the Chinese, that's our collateral on the debt, dude.
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's take a quick break.
All right.
I've got to air out anyways. This room's getting a little hot.
Ooh, this is fun.
We're
going to keep this going. No, I mean, just physically hot. I'm melting up here. the sound boy spot here is pretty warm.
6 freaking monitors.
They need to have monitors that just excrete cold air. Just AC monitors. Somebody get on that. Chinese, please. We'll give you some wood.
Excrete.
Well, this is the first run of the kick. It's brought to you by Riley's Brewing. And we'll be back here in a minute. Hopefully we can keep you awake for a
Let us know what
longer.
you think, too, because so far I think it's been pretty successful.
It's good times, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll do it up. We'll be right back.
Yeah, pop it. Pop it like it's hot. Like it's hot. All right.
Man, this is cool, brother.
Yeah.
That's really good right there.
You're listening to The Kick on Longbox.FM.
Fresno rocks. Visalia rocks. Modesto rocks.
Hey, we're not leaving you out. Come with us.
The internet rock station for the Central Valley Nation. Your home for rock.
The home for radio without rules.
This is Longbox.FM. The Open Mic Podcast on Longbox.fm.
Tuesday night, June 28th, the Carnival will be back on the Open Mic Podcast. Ben and his crew will be coming back, throwing it down, kicking it hard and heavy, just like they did last time. They pick up some pointers on how to do it even better. Plus, Ben's been kicking it around with The Kick. So now we're going to have a full kicking crew going on that night, the Open Mic Podcast. It's June 28th on Longbox.fm at 7 p.m. Be there.
Longbox.fm.
We're back here in the kick here on Longbox.fm, brought to you by Riley's Brewing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Riley's.
We had some good chats there during the break, and I think we know exactly what we're going to be talking about here on this segment. A topic it's been
Blue
big
waffle.
for a while. What?
Blue waffle.
We're minimum wage increase. Which obviously we were talking about during or in the last segment, and $15 an hour coming up, and Kevin, you want to kick this off?
Yeah, we can kick it off. Although I'm sure most of us here are going to be in agreement. Yeah, the $15 an hour minimum wage that's going to be going into effect as of 2022. Is it 6 years out that they're doing it, or 5 years?
Well, I thought it was 2020, but I could be wrong.
It's
I thought
$1 a year.
I thought it was a
that's
4
what
or
it is.
5 year plan.
50 cents in dollars from that point.
Something to that effect. Yeah. Well, raised from
Someone says 50 cent.
50 cent.
It's all up in the
Say it 9 times, some gangster gets to live.
right.
Basically, it's going to completely eradicate the rest of the small businesses left in California. If California wasn't broke enough already, there's not going to be anything left after $15 an hour minimum wage, except for a whole bunch of auto order kiosk screens. And
Well, I got to blame it on Jerry Brown's cell phone program. So
How did he get elected governor? How did we let that happen again?
Didn't
the dead Kennedys warn us?
It's California.
Yeah, exactly. One, that's
dated
true,
Linda
and two,
Ronstadt.
that's just exactly like how we're going to let Trump get elected if we're not
Don't say
careful.
that.
Well, I don't
I repeat.
know. But California has not elected a Republican presidential candidate since 1984.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
I graduated
entirely
in
true.
'83.
Oh, wow.
You weren't born.
I wasn't even a twinkle in
Yes,
anybody's
exactly. Okay.
In their
so,
eye?
Hey, California.
I feel proud. I was a bean
This
sprout.
is teenage wasteland. This is what the Who was talking about.
Yeah.
Quadrophenia right here.
Okay, is it fairly easy to say right around the table, 15 an hour is just dumb?
It's absurd.
Yeah.
Anything,
It's outlandish.
So
anything
much
an hour
money.
minimum
It's way
is absurd.
outlandish.
So
the minimum-
anyone listening, by the way, and you're pissed off about that, and
Please call
you're
in.
probably working at McDonald's right now. When you get a break, call in 492-0450, or you could Skype at Longbox.FM and tell us why it's wrong. I would love to argue this point with you.
Okay, so here's what minimum wage is. Bottom line, it is an artificial inflation on the cost of labor, which is just one kind of one little aspect in the chain of events that takes place to produce a good. So if you want to relate it to anything else, let's just say, you already deal with minimum wage, Steve, but if the government came in and said all of a sudden the cost of seaweed is going to be the minimum of $11 per seaweed branch. Obviously, I know a lot about.
It's going to be one effing
So
expensive
off right
salad.
now.
What happens is if Steve wants to stay in business, he has to raise the price of his goods up to basically make up for the $11 an hour cost of that sushi, and it's completely not up to him. Same thing happens with minimum wage. The second thing that happens is you have people right now, $10 an hour is the absolute bare minimum. There are people out there whose dollar an hour value is $10 an hour. So they're not,
as a person?
As a person.
There's a lot more that's less.
Yeah, they can produce $10 an hour for somebody. That's their
would be
value.
a cool number.
Yeah, there's other people out there who are worth $50 an hour. They can produce $50 an hour of wealth for somebody or generate it, And there's people out there that are worth $2 an hour, and there's people out there that are worth 1 penny an hour, and it ranges all the way for every dollar amount that anybody wants to negotiate with. What happens with the $10 an hour minimum wage is you have everybody who's worth 1 penny an hour to $9.99 an hour completely priced out of the labor market. They now have to compete with people who can make more money an hour than they do at $10 an hour. And when you jump this to $11 an hour, $12, $13.50, you get to 15. You're pricing out more and more and more and more people every time. The government is legislating that you cannot hire people that are worth less than $15 an hour. Well, you could, but why the hell would you?
Well, if you're a small business owner, and especially here in the state of California, by the time it gets to $15 an hour, you're going to be hiring doctoral, graduates.
Hopefully not.
Who are going to want $40 an hour.
I'm hoping my daughter's going to be one of those.
Right.
I don't want her to work for minimum wage.
But I'm going to shoot this over to Steve because he actually has the street experience.
Well, I don't have street experience. I've just done.
What is he, thug here?
I've done a couple things.
Street cred.
So back in 1964, the minimum wage was $1.25. But in 1963, Mr. Kennedy lost his head, And in 1964, we got rid of the silver out of our dimes and our quarters. So, Chris, I asked you to go on to Coinflation and look up what the melt value was of a 1964 Washington quarter. And what was that?
I got it on the screen here.
Do 5 of them. I think there's a calculator there. Can you do
up
that?
here? What do we got? What are you looking for? This one?
No, you want to go the 64.
Working on it.
Compelling.
64 quarter.
64.
Probably should have had this ready before.
You're all right.
We tried. This is critical, though. I know where he's going with this.
Okay, you're looking for the 64 quarter. I'll look that up while you go.
I'm going to take a shot in the dark and say that
I'm saying it's going to be close to $15
for 5 of them.
for 5.
Yeah, each quarter is probably going to be about $3.25
$1.25 an hour, and the melt value for 5 quarters right now would be $15 an hour. So that would mean that my paper dollar plus my silver quarter would have purchasing power of $15. And you have to realize in 1964, I had a 1966 Mustang. That was my very first car. I bet you that car retailed for $3,400 in 1966. I have a 1975 BMW 2002. So 1975 was 4 years after we went off the gold standard in 1971. And in 1971, you could have got a 2002 BMW for $3,500, $4,000. Tricked out.
Yeah.
In 1975, when mine was built, the sticker price was $6,400 because it took the Germans that long to get caught up to what the hell we did once we delinked ourselves from the gold standard. And all the gold standard did was say, hey, you have to have this amount of money in gold and reserves to print this amount of crap dollars.
Limitation
that we
on
call
printing.
Federal Reserve notes.
Yep.
And when you take your money out of your pocket now, back in the day, it used to say silver certificate.
Mm-hmm.
So it was redeemable in $1 worth of silver, $20 worth of silver, $100 worth of silver.
Real silver.
Now it says Federal Reserve note.
Yeah.
And what is a note? It's a
piece
debt.
of paper.
It's a debt.
Yeah.
So you and I pass each other's
Promises to
debt
pay.
from the Federal Reserve
IOUs.
government's wars and
Yep.
good intentions, and we call it money. And this is the illusion we're living. And as long as the illusion upholds, you can come buy as much sushi as you'd like. And I appreciate that you do.
Plug for roll one for me.
Yes.
And this kind of goes into the question of what gives our money value. And the only thing that gives our money value is the faith that somebody else is going to accept it. So all of us have jobs, hopefully, and when we get a paycheck...
I've been jobless and homeless for the last 5 years, so I don't know
wonderful.
what you're talking about.
Whenever we get a paycheck, we take it to the bank, and that bank exchanges it for dollars and such.
The truth of the truth behind it all is this: if, for example, if you have a job and you have direct deposit into your account, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you have a debit card that's attached to your banking account that your paycheck just got direct deposited into.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're a person like myself, I carry very little cash on me at all at any time. I just
by
have
choice.
my card.
No, I'm the opposite.
Yeah, I'm the
See?
opposite. I like cash
No,
on me.
cash. Cash. They say that cash is king.
I have $1,000 and a 45 concealed.
There you
No.
go.
I have mine in a gold bar because I'm Asian like that.
Just have to
Remember
find the
that.
$1,000 before you find the 45.
I got mine in gold teeth.
All in the back.
But the truth is,
Hard to get.
is when you're at the register and you're checking out for whatever it is you bought in the store, right? That price pops up on the register screen, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, so it's $25.16, and you go up there with your card, and you just have money on your card. It's on your account, right? You swipe your card, and you could literally now, we live in a world where you never actually have to see cash money.
Incorrect.
You never have to see any amount of cash whatsoever, except
don't
if you
have
live
to.
where I live and they still got coin-operated laundry machines. So
Strippers will never take credit cards.
you know what? And they won't take nickels.
You can
that
try
are,
to swipe it through their butt crack all you want.
I
but it
told-
I've
doesn't
done
go
that.
through.
I've done
I
that.
told
And
you-
when it didn't work, I went to the pocket full of nickels, and they don't like being dinged in the forehead with those either.
That's
so.
their issue.
Yeah, and they hate it when those credit card swipe reader guys. The guys
They don't
steal
hate that
your
as much as I hate the
Yeah, they,
smell,
They
for
try to
fuck's
insert
sake.
that. Yeah, man, it's terrible.
Stepford wives that just they got a slot in their
Right.
mouth.
Well, it's just ATM right around the butt cheeks. Just there.
Ass to
All
mouth. Now I know we're not going to get anybody to call in and defend this thing, but I've had the people defend it on when I posted on Facebook. And first off, they said, it's not about you and your personal pride. It's about a living wage. There is a graph that I remember seeing, and I'll put it up on the screen, that they'll use as their reasoning for why it's important to get $15 an hour.
So
Talk
you
about
could find
productivity.
That, but you couldn't find the graph for the 5
Yeah, I know.
freaking quarters?
I'm a retarded sound
Really?
guy, so
Okay. All right, go ahead. Go ahead,
but
Chris.
yeah, they're talking about productivity versus the hourly wage. Whoop, sorry, coming back. See, I'm not really good. There's the years at the bottom there. So they're complaining that we deserve this because look how much productivity, whatever. Which I know that someone brought up outside, like the $15 an hour person at Wendy's getting the order wrong. Your productivity sucks.
Well, the productivity there, though, does not show the productivity of the Wendy's worker. The productivity there shows the efficiency of the corporate
There you go.
overlord that has shipped all of our jobs overseas.
It's
And
react-
now we don't have to pay
That's
the wages
entirely
Yeah,
that we have to pay in America.
Raphael in India can do a really good job.
So on a per-person basis, we look a lot more productive. That's because the guy that's making your tennis shoes is making 60 cents an hour in China. And, hey, they are awesome. I love my George Lopez
Well, what's that
Nikes.
line from Armageddon where they go and they meet up, right? And Peter Stormare, like, if you guys know who that is, like he plays a Russian astronaut, and he gets up there and he's like, American components, Russian components, all made in Taiwan, and that is the most true that's the most true observation of products and goods that are made because what we pay for, if you flip it over, and Kevin and I talked about this during the break.
Yeah.
If you take 9 out of 10 products in your home and flip them over, they're made overseas.
Yeah.
So
We've
that's
shipped
where
all
that-
of
that's
our
where
we've
that number
shipped all
comes
of our
from.
labor production
I mean,
overseas.
there's a really good reason everything's overseas is because the government has made it impossible to hire or produce anything in the States.
I thought it was sandy beaches
I
and
agree.
clear water. Dog.
That's what it is.
Whoa.
It's the reason everything's made in Taiwan is because it's cheap as hell to make shit in Taiwan because the government isn't sucking out 50% of every dollar that's made.
No, and they dump all the shit in the bay, too.
And the shit's all
And, hey,
dumped in the bay.
There is that.
There is that. So I mean, hey, I see both sides of the coin. I don't want to look like I'm totally biased to one side. I agree that we should keep and try to preserve our environment. The problem is the environmentalists have gotten so involved that we can't even preserve it anymore. Our Sierra Nevadas. I took a trip up the 4-lane on Memorial Day. That Sierra Nevada looks pathetic. That is a tinderbox waiting to go off because of the bark beetle and because of the mismanagement of the United States Forest Service and their inability to log, cut, and at least clear cut those areas up there. And I'm telling you, we are really lucky if we don't have a very major fire up in that area of the Sierra Nevada.
Yeah, doesn't the bottom half of California burst into flames every year around this time anyway?
Pretty much.
I heard the top half of California does
Bananas.
too. So we're literally caught in the middle between two bonfires. I'm just wondering who's bringing the fucking s'mores.
We're
because
getting there.
No, we got close
And then it
last year.
sucks being in the valley
Yeah,
because
we
we
did.
get all of the.
We get the small.
Just sits
Yes.
Yeah, no.
The
What
ash
was that?
children.
The Ridge
Smoking
fire.
a
Yeah, the
pancake.
Ridge Fire. Well, where it got so bad, and you know what? I got friends that work with the Cat Haven, and those guys are super
That
cool.
guy's awesome. The guy
He's
that owns that
badass.
place
Yeah,
is
he's a
cool
badass.
dude.
And I just know that for talking to him, and then like the 24 to 48 hours that happened, and they were threatened with they've got to pull all the animals out of there. I mean, they shipped some of their cats as far away as like Kansas, just to preserve their stock. And when they brought them all back, it was like the biggest weight off of his shoulders because he was like, I don't know what I would have done had You know what I mean? Had the fire spread,
and he had a
spread
rough
more
couple
quickly.
years. I mean, he had that gal that was killed 2
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah,
I mean,
but they had a
they had a rough couple
and
years,
and that was
I mean,
right
and
before
that
their
guy
annual fundraiser.
has the biggest heart of anybody
does.
I've ever met. I mean,
He
I
does.
want to go.
He's
There's
a
cats. What is it?
amazing
Let me
man.
know what
The
this
Cat
is. I want
Haven?
to go.
No,
This is
Oh, the
this
one
is
out
all
in the-
rescue wild
leopards,
animals
leopards,
up off of
pumas,
Squaw Valley.
but it's all big cats though. So it's leopards and pumas
I
and
like all
jaguars, right? There you go. You got
That's so
16 of them
cool.
rolling around in the living room right now, right?
That is
Dowdy?
awesome.
Let me bring it back to that minimum wage thing. I had something I started outside, but I figured since we're talking about it, I want to go to it now. One of the things that I know no one seems to like. I brought this up once, and it was fought back with a vanity thing. But for example, Vanna, she starts working here at Longbox.FM, and I'm going to pay her $10 an hour. Also, not true, by the way. Not happening.
Yeah.
And
Not
she
worth
works
that.
for
She's
your
not
blood.
worth that.
Good, because
Yeah.
you promised me
Tips,
at least
maybe.
14.
I've
so.
got
Yeah,
I've got
50
quarters.
minimum.
Yeah. So she works
Hey,
here for
hold
5
on.
years. I
I
give
feel
her a
bad
dollar.
now.
I give her $1 a year, and then 5 years from now, I hire Ben to be here. But now he's getting 15 an hour, and he has zero experience. He clearly sucks on a mic. She's been here. She's been tested. I'm going to give him 15 entry, and she gets zero increase or whatever. She'll go up to 16 the next year. And I think this is where a big problem will be, and this is why they say small businesses. Somebody actually commented, make small businesses impossible. That you'll hurt. You hurt the small ones. The Walmarts, the Targets, they'll find their own way around it.
For clarification, though, the comment that's coming from YouTube, is it make small businesses impossible, or is it making small businesses impossible to survive?
No, making it impossible for small businesses
For
to
small,
survive.
is that a
sustainable.
statement?
Because I made the joke to
It's
you
hard.
outside. I said, "Are you going to be able to handle 15 an hour?"
I will.
And you said,
I will.
"And who's going to pay the price?"
But you're going to pay the price.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's the only way.
Absolutely.
And so
But to
my
the
job
point
is
of-
to create an environment and create a product that you are willing to come and participate in the market.
Largely
And
largely
what's going to
successful.
happen
by the
when
way.
we get to $15 an hour is the market is going to be vastly different than it is today.
Everyone talks though about the $15 an hour. That's the minimum wage increase. You have employees now making 15 an hour.
Yes.
Do they get 30% or 33% increase?
50%.
I don't know.
50% increase.
$10 an hour minimum wage
I don't
to
know.
15 is
Because
50%.
I'm in the restaurant business, and I really think there should be some type of an exemption just from the standpoint that my servers make $10 an hour.
Yeah.
But if you're a server and you work for me and you're not making $23 to $28, $30 an hour after tips, you're not doing your job.
Yeah.
So there needs to be some type of exemption for a tip type employee, because if it continues at this rate, what's going to happen is you're going to come into roll one for me, and I'm going to have my order desk right when you walk through the door.
Yeah.
And you're going to order your meal, and you're going to go sit your ass down, and I'm going to have people running food out to you.
Chipotle
and
style.
there's going to be no service. I'm going to have a Coke machine over there, just like Carl's Jr.,
Yep.
where you can go refill your drink.
Everything
You
is
want a beer, you're going to have to flag somebody down.
Yeah, the reaction is to get every last bit of that $15 an hour labor not there.
Yep.
If
And
you,
so
if you
that-
cannot pay
that's
that, that's going to be what business owners have to do.
I recently went to a McDonald's for the first time with that order up kiosk thing. It was trippy. Over in, I think it was Tejon over on the Grapevine. And
Did your order come out right?
It did.
Did you make it over the grapevine without losing your cookies?
It did, and you know what's funny is that I'm actually allergic to onions, so when I order my double cheeseburgers,
That's a good question,
I get
because I
get really angry when it's in there. It was right because I did it myself.
Nice.
And you know what? I mean, it literally, if you think about it from the standpoint of you have these kiosks in the restaurants, right? But then who's to say that you can't just pull up in a drive-through setting and then order it electronically and then have a machine
have that now.
spit the food out of it?
There's
You-
an app for that.
Exactly. There it is.
Yeah.
There are
Is
apps
there?
that you
It's
can
called
order.
the Jetsons.
Is there?
Not all places, but you can. And you know, I use
You
it on
guys are
occasion.
sick.
I like Outback is like one of my favorite little things to do. I
Oh,
treat myself every
I've
so
never
often.
been there.
Me either.
My moment, Steve.
Ever.
I'm not a fancy
Or
boy.
Hooters.
That's my fancy. That's my fancy steak. I'm not
I
going to
got
Ruth's
3
Chris.
daughters. I refuse to go to Hooters.
That's awesome.
It's not worth it anyway.
I'm not
Yeah.
going
They're-
to...
They're
It's
buffalo.
shit.
wings.
Fresno Hooters is like Fresno strippers.
yeah,
And we just
yeah,
lost a
whatever,
couple
tits.
listeners.
You seen one, you seen them both.
To the nightlife dancers of Fresno, seriously, we actually love Fresno strippers. Don't hate us.
But I'll get online. I don't have to do the whole. I don't have to really interact with anybody. I can order it online. I can go there and I park in a spot. Somebody comes walking out with a bag and takes my credit card. Perfect. So sometimes it works. Or like the grocery store where you go to and you can do the self checkout. That's nice. But when you're
That's
going
hard to be honest though.
Yeah.
I always wonder. I always want to be like.
I always am,
just,
but yeah.
I like it. It's like when you have your social anxiety days. It's like they get us. They understand. We would rather go through our screen than see a person because we all hate people, but we're so social online.
And the thing is, but the thing is too is like that.
No, well, my generation,
like
we will literally go through
suck
everything
bit,
to do
but
everything
I
online.
like people. No, I'm just kidding.
I like.
I was born in the 90s. Our generation does suck.
I know.
We
I'm
suck.
taking
sorry.
it.
I apologize on behalf of all of us.
I know I'm taking it away there, but convenience is nice. But the convenience is going to become more of the reality. And I don't want to go to roll one for me and have to deal with a kiosk. Just like when you want to deal with somebody, like I want to pay my AT&T bill, where I have to deal with the machine screaming no over and over and says, I don't understand your response. I do want to deal with people when I want to deal with people.
Representative.
But the 15 an hour is going to start eliminating that.
How about an iPad sitting on your table to where you just go, hey, I want the green jacket. I
Well, that's the.
I like that.
I want the booty
Olive
jacket.
Garden
Applebee's.
has that.
That's the
That's
Applebee's
cool.
checkout mindset.
Fridays as well.
As long as you
They're
got a
doing that on
person that
Fridays now,
delivers
too?
and
I feel
helps you.
hip.
Yeah, I've only got 18 tables, so what's that cost me? What, $4,000?
For iPads?
Yeah.
Well, if you get them from
18
Taiwan.
tables, about $4,000 for
If you
Get some of those Obama pads.
Obama pad?
Oh yes, I gotta go. Oh, the Obama pad.
Hell yeah.
Oh, that is great, and it's super absorbent. I hear.
I love it. But that, you know what, we live in that age now where the Industrial Revolution has taken on a mind of its own, and so now it's become the technological revolution. And where we saw the Industrial Revolution start to take up jobs because we literally had
machinery.
machines to take over the work of people. Now technology is doing the same thing with the kiosks and the refill stations and ATMs. You remember? I don't know if anybody remembers, but I remember back in
the cotton gin,
early,
right?
Exactly. Hey, listen,
that was
man.
a long time
Listen,
ago.
Man, the moonshine stills, those things. That
Eli
was,
Whitney was a long time ago.
Oh.
Exactly. But like ATMs, and I'll just finish the thought by saying this. ATMs, right? It's such a convenience to go to an ATM instead of having to go to the bank and try to get there before they close and get money out of an ATM. But now you see an ATM everywhere. Now, do some of these fucking ATMs charge an exorbitant fee based on the store location or the banking, the banking system that's hosting that ATM? Absolutely. But do you pay that fee? Yes, you do, because you pay that fee for the convenience of it.
And that's
what we've right. I want my money, and I want it now.
That's why I have a credit union. I go to the co-op ones.
I've
see socialism all over
Ben,
again.
I've worked in tech stuff for up to 21 years, and I've been in packing plants, fruit packing places where they bring in the oranges or other produce, and they run along the lines, and you got a whole bunch of people that they're grabbing and analyzing and throwing out. And in the evolution of 21 years, I've gone in to see just massive hordes of people picking and whatever. To now, there's just people that kind of just stand there.
Yeah, they're redundant systems, basically.
The computers, they have an eyeball that understands, and they can do a little of air, and it shoots that orange or that pistachio or whatever out of the mix. And I remember always thinking this, long before this minimum wage and all that stuff, at what point are we going to lose jobs? Like, there will not be jobs for the amount of people.
It started 40 years ago.
For the amount of people.
Incorrect.
Exactly.
As needs get filled, other needs arise. That's just what happens. Before the internet, people didn't have a need for a modem. But as the internet was invented and became commercial, people had needs for these things. So the internet kind of eradicated the need for like newspapers and calling places to check movie times and stuff like that. Like you had a convenience that was more efficient than the old system. Now, a few people are going to feel the effect as they have to reallocate their labor somewhere else. But you don't ever stop having stuff to do. People will always have demands. They're always going to have needs.
But you see movies where they live in the future where it's this utopian society, and computers run everything. An iRobot movie, Will Smith. The first and only time I'll do Will Smith on this show. But you see this world where everything's automated and run by. And what is life at that point? What do you do? What is your job?
Well, okay, so like I feel the same way.
Other
about a
than
movie
like squeeze the turn the nuts and update the programming. I mean, what else do you do?
Exactly, but
Well,
I feel
1984.
But I feel the same way.
That's
I feel
Russia's
the same way
2112. I mean,
Even Brave New World. I mean, we want to
Exactly.
go. I mean,
Yeah.
go
But
with
that's
the
the thing is,
classics
I
here.
feel the same way about a movie like Total Recall, right? Because when you see hundreds and thousands of people, all these extras in this movie, right? And it's like, what does that guy do? What does that guy do? What do all these fucking people do?
So we're all
Because
going to be in movies?
exactly. Like
Give
this
Does everybody
has
get
to
a
be a
job at
movie
12?
because this has to be a movie because the truth of the matter is once the machines eventually become more paramount than the actual human labor.
God,
what
you guys are
we going to do?
describing Ayn Rand's book Anthem
Yeah.
to a T.
And if you want to be a nerd about it, we could
it's
call
to
it
a T.
ego.
And if you haven't
You wanna
seen
be
the
a real
movie, what
Ayn Rand
happens
fan.
is this group of the very smart kids gets in trouble, and they get banished.
Yeah.
And they are street sweepers, and they discover a manhole, and they open up the manhole, and they discover books. And they learn, and they read, and they learn how to make a light bulb. And then they go to the powers that be and go, look what we did. We don't have to have candlelight anymore out on our streets. We've got a light bulb. And they banish them and send them to jail. And then they escape jail, and they run to the greater Sierra Nevadas, and they hunt, and they screw, and they have a good time, and they live their free lives. And that's basically what inspired me with that book to a certain extent to get involved like I did, because I understood the metaphors that Ayn Rand was drawing in that book, and I just don't have enough patience, and I'm way too ADD to read Atlas Shrugged. So
Just watch the Tom Hanks movie. Or is it? Never mind. I lost it. Bad joke.
But it's the same thing. I mean,
Here's the thing, Daddy. We labor to fulfill our demands.
Yes.
Consumerism driving capitalism.
Okay.
it's self-contentment. I think what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, the human
As-
character.
Our need to
is
devour
trying
has to drive our need to
Yes.
produce.
Okay, hang on. So go back to the time when people were predominantly farmers, like the massive population were farmers.
1980.
1980. To be able to farm in 1980 took a good, 12, 13, 14 hours a day to maintain this maintain this crop for,
There you go.
months at a time to be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor at the end. As mechanization came along and was able to take away the amount of human labor and produce more of that that whatever product at a more efficient rate, you have people that no longer had to work 12, 13, 14 hours a day. You were able to work now, say 8 hours a day to even then produce the same that you were producing before. So that extra time is used to fulfill more needs. Just like as, now you work 8 hours a day instead of 16 hours a day, you have more time. Like, what do you do in your spare time now? That's the same thing you would do in a world without a need to work, but that is assuming that we have infinite resources, which is, of course, right now that's not the case. So all those movies are going to be in the future and fictional for that reason.
Well, those movies also have happy people. And we have no happy people.
Yeah,
right
we're
now.
not even close to that.
Oh, come on.
Well, Steve, I know you're
want you
happy.
to boot up REM, Shining Happy People for the way out tonight.
You want to get me kicked offline
Yes.
with copyright
Oh,
and
is that
stuff.
copyright shit?
Yeah.
Oh, David Skype's an asshole.
No, YouTube
Or
and the
Michael
world has,
Skype, excuse me.
They've come down hard on me.
Really?
Yeah.
Assholes. Anyway,
Yeah, well,
I got lucky at Kino. I think they had that shit all covered.
that could be a
Can
show
we
down
play
the
cover
road.
versions? Is like what's
Yeah, I
the
did Rage
legality
Against
of
the
that
Machine.
if
They
it's a
didn't sue
cover?
me.
Yeah, there's been in the last
Just
couple
thinking of-
months,
Make YouTube great again.
every single
YouTube sucks.
Well,
It
they're
used to be
part of the
something cool
problem.
like 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
YouTube sucks now.
It's
Yeah,
owned.
YouTube, you suck.
It's owned. It's controlled, and they
Corporate,
can
yeah.
they can
Regulated.
shut anyone
So
down
is
now.
Facebook, you kind of suck too now. But
Yep.
I still love you just because that's the only way I get my political points across.
We could do covers, like Bernie Sanders covers. I can come in one day and record that for us.
Oh God.
Do Bernie Sanders covers of Rush
What
songs.
would be a Bernie Sanders cover?
Just give me any song.
No.
Give it to me, baby. Dun, 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 dun. Give it
Respectfully,
to me,
baby.
Little Rick
Respect
James,
your
huh?
rights.
Oh, is that Rick? I was thinking Offspring for a second.
Give it to me, baby, one more time.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
Little Britney.
Oh,
Hit me, baby. That's hit me,
It's
baby.
hit me,
Birdie.
baby, one more time.
Yeah.
Hit me, baby,
My
one more
loneliness
time.
is killing me.
God.
Bird.
It's time to go shave my
I
head.
must confess.
You did that one night, and that's your thing
That
now.
was pretty good.
Oh. Wow. Thanks, Chris.
So where are we sitting at
Yeah, it's
here?
Lots of fun.
let's
This is a good one. Yeah,
let's for a first run, man. This isn't go back to the first Dirty Dowdy podcast. Totally different cluster F right there.
Yeah, no, this was pure gold, 100% through and through, and it's all my fault. To my credit. That's what I meant to say.
Let's go back to that 7-minute
Sorry for
diatribe.
interrupting.
To your detriment. This is a shite show. Nobody's kidding themselves over that.
Well, next
Nice.
week on this show, we've got as our
She
guest.
inspired my interrupt.
Hey,
So.
Hey,
I'm promoing. No, we got next week on the kick. Karen Adell Scot. She is the director of transcare.org, and this is going to be talking about transgender neutral bathrooms.
here we go.
I've already had an hour and a half on the phone with her. Very interesting, Kevin. I know you and her are going to have a lot of fun next week. So that'll be going on. Tune in on that every Monday night. Now we're doing this. And again, thank you, Steve, for being a part of this. Thank you for the sushi, and of course, go check out Roll One for me.
Yep.
And of course, go buy yourself some Riley's Brewing. And please spread word. Get back to this. Let's try to make this something, because hopefully this is going to be something to help wake people up here in the Valley. A true news source, a true place people can discuss no matter what their views are. Apparently, we need to find more varied views, because you guys all suck with agreeance.
What the hell happened?
Yeah, we all like each other. This is not what I expected at all.
Goes to show you, food can really bring people together.
Yeah.
Thank you, Roll One for
Yeah.
me.
All right, and with that, I'm say thanks everybody for listening, and tune in next week.
See you then.
Appreciate it.
Sure, let me pop your cherry, Chris.
Thank you, guys.
You can pop my cherry anytime.
That's fun, guys.
Yeah, that was good.
Nope.
If anything, it's shit you usually don't hear any other media
Yeah.
source. That's for sure.
Awesome. I thought you
Thank
had an
you. Yeah,
outro.
very nice meeting
You've
you.
got so many great stories too.
Yeah, I do have a lot of fun
You're
stories.
a very well-rounded individual.
Yes.
It's
Gotta
fun
come
right
back soon.
there.
Yeah, no, it's fun. I
It's
enjoy
on
it.
right now.
Actually,
Yeah,
we
this
went
was
to the
good.
first
Good job.
ever
Like
tea
this.
party.
Sound boy,
so
nice.
it's an honor. to see.
I was there. I was there. I didn't get to see a whole lot because I was running my ass off all day.
Oh my
I'm
god.
gonna do one more brewski and.
Oh, wait, we're going back again.
Oh, really?
Alright.
Are we?
No, you're done, aren't you?
No, he's done. We sounded off.
He's done.
Sorry, no, it jumped on the music, so
Oh.
I'm getting the actual in for the recording, and then I can bounce.
Kevin, YouTube wants you to do
Listening to the
Primus
Kick on
songs.
Longbox.fm.
Oh yeah.
Oh, shit.
That would be
Dude, Winona's
so
Bristol
cool.
Brady Beaver and
Too
Bernie
many
would be-
puppies.
Yeah.
Too many puppies.
Let me get a picture.
Old toy.
Let me get a picture. No, you guys,
Yeah.
My name is
Steve,
Blood.
You got it. You got it.
Shit, Primus like my favorite band, too.
Ben,
That's good shit. Good interview.
Don't
How do you want
go
in?
down park over there. I'm just kidding.
That was fun.
actually here.
Come
Might as
on,
well
bud.
get in one
Get in, bud.
before I stop doing pictures.
You should get in the front, probably, man.
Yeah, because you're short and all that fun stuff. Camera's coming around. Here, I'll be shorter than you.
Perfect music, too.
Okay, ready?
Alright.
Perfect.
I wanted something different that stood out music-wise.
Yeah, that was
Like
fun,
it.
Chris. Thank you.
No, it is very distinct, that's for sure.
Look at Kevin.
Yes. That's fucking amazing.
We'll talk here in a minute.
Is this your phone or his? You gotta send me a picture.
After show, we always chat, because I would. Well, you'll be cutting everything down and all that stuff. Yeah, after show, I'm like the princess and I need my time, whatever. Fun stuff.
Time to go to the dressing room, Brittany. I got a blowjob you gotta get to.
That's what I call my hair
Turn that
dryer.
off. Brittany,
No blowjob.
Blowjob?
stop, file, save.
And then go back to slideshow and fire.
All right, so are we fighting over who's taking the rest of the sushi home?
I don't know, but he was giving me money. I'm like, are you serious about that? Because, like, I got student loans I gotta pay back. You know?
Yeah, Vanna and
Whose
Ben.
money is that?
It says he was. I was talking about, like, the health insurance. He started pulling out money and adding it towards me.
So whose money is it?
Victor? Yeah.